Women have been conditioned by society to be, act, and think a certain way. Here at Girls IRL, we encourage women to challenge societal norms and embrace their femininity. With that being said, let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Girls in Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Mariah Clayton, and this week I can say happy Monday. Y'all know last week was a little bit of a day late upload just because the week before Ace was sick and all that good stuff. Not good, but you know what I'm trying to say. But we are back on our regularly scheduled day, so happy Monday. Mother's Day was yesterday. I don't know if Justin has anything planned as of right now. Our weekend is full of graduation parties, birthday parties, and Saturday we're going to like a little festival in New Orleans, which I think I told you guys about in last week's episode. So I have no idea what we're doing on Sunday, if we're doing anything. I mean, I'm sure we'll probably go like see his mom, see my mom and my grandmother and stuff like that, but I don't know if like we're doing anything, but it's fine. It's fine. He actually already got me a present. He got me a new plant because I am like obsessed with plants at the moment. Y'all know I planted my little lemon tree and she is flourishing. We have new buds and like it's so cool to see. So he got me a new plant that is in the kitchen, and then he also got me some new like microphones, like the Rode wireless microphones, which I honestly have been wanting for such a long time because I've just been wanting my audio to be more clearer, like for my TikTok videos, for my talking videos and things like that. So super grateful that he got those little gifts for me. But yeah, like I said, I don't really know what we're doing, but I'm sure he probably has something up his sleeve. He'll probably make me a nice little dinner or something. But I can't believe this is my second Mother's Day. Like Ace is only 1 year old. My first Mother's Day was last year, obviously, and he was like 3 months, maybe 2 months. I don't know. No, he was 3 months. He was definitely 3 months last year for Mother's Day. So he's 1 year old now, and I feel like I've just gained so much knowledge and wisdom in my first year of motherhood, and that's pretty much what this episode is going to be about: the challenges that I faced during my first year of motherhood, my advice that I have for new moms, for young moms, people who have just, never had a baby before. Hopefully by me sharing my experience and my challenges and things that I've learned and how I survived my first year of motherhood will give y'all a little bit of, I don't know, help or direction for your own life and your own child. Even if you're not a mom, I feel like these types of things are nice to listen to just so that you know what to expect, so that when that time does come for you, you have pretty much a good knowledge of things that could happen, of the challenges and struggles that you could face, of how you can even prevent them from happening or like set yourself up for more success as they are happening. So yeah, we're gonna get into all the nitty gritty today. I definitely wanted to do this episode closer to Ace's birthday, and I wanted Justin to be on with me so that he could, from a guy's perspective, just kind of tell what fatherhood is like, and what it's like in regards to like me being a new mom, like because our whole dynamic just kind of shifted. But his work schedule is like so insane, and we just don't have time to film anything together. So y'all just getting me today. Let's go ahead and get into surviving my first year of motherhood and the advice that I have for my young and new mamas. I'm gonna talk about the challenges of motherhood in a second, but I think for those of you who are new to my channel and don't really know me and my story, I just want to run through really quickly my becoming a mom experience, because it's very unconventional. And like I said, I'm going to run through this story kind of quickly, but I do have a birth story on my YouTube, like on this channel further back. And then I also have a story of like how me and Justin met and like all of that stuff. So that will kind of give you some more insight. But for right now, we're just going to give like the short, condensed version. Okay. So my experience becoming a mom, let's just say it was not planned. It was very unexpected. And I was very extremely scared and nervous. And I did not think that I was ready to become a mom. I know I was not ready to become a mom. I had only known Justin for about 2 months before we got pregnant, and we weren't even officially together. So it was just a really scary time for me. I was very depressed. I was not very happy during my pregnancy. It took me up until like 30 weeks to actually accept what was going on. And by that time, Ace was here probably 2 months later, which is crazy to think about. But needless to say, my pregnancy was hard for a lot of reasons, mentally and physically. And the thought of becoming a mom scared me more than anything, like giving birth and having to deal with postpartum, and then obviously taking care of like a human being for the rest of their life. It is a really big responsibility. And like I said, I was not ready for it at that time. So for me personally, I kind of felt like motherhood was just kind of thrown onto me. It wasn't something that I got to plan. It wasn't something that I was, looking forward to. It wasn't even really something that I knew that I wanted in that moment. But when I decided to obviously keep my child and decide to become a mom, I knew that I needed to shift my mentality, because there was no way that I was going to be able to give Ace the love and care that he deserved if I was still like very sad and depressed about the situation that was at hand. So it took a long time, like I said, for me to accept the fact that I was going to become a mom in my pregnancy. But once I accepted it, it was just kind of like a switch flipped, and I was just in go mode. I was nesting. I was trying to make sure we had everything together. I was trying to, just prepare myself for the life-changing experience that was about to happen to me. And honestly, I don't care what anybody says. It does not matter how much you prepare. It does matter how much you think you know. Until you have that baby, you don't know anything. Okay. Like, obviously there are things that can help you prepare, especially for labor and delivery. And you can take all these classes and you can, decide how you want to parent your child and everything like that. But until your child gets here, you have no idea like what's actually going to take place. And then when they do get here, you're navigating a new life. You're navigating a new body. You're navigating a new human being, and your new human being is navigating being brought into this world. And it's just a lot of changes that happen during that time, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into some challenges that I personally faced during motherhood and challenges that I know all mothers. Honestly, everything on this list is probably something that all mothers have faced or are going to face. But I really just want to hit on a few of these before we get into the advice that I have. Okay, so the first challenge of motherhood that I have on my list is sleep deprivation. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows the first probably 3 to 4 months are the hardest, because that's the newborn phase. Like, that is the phase where everyone is adjusting to all the newness that just happened. And it's hard. Now, this could shift and change if you have a good sleeper, but I feel like all newborns honestly sleep a lot. It's just the times when they sleep are not convenient for you as the mom. So when it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and you're finally just now getting into a deep sleep, your baby is crying next to you, like wanting to be fed. So it's not that the babies don't sleep. It's just that they don't sleep at the most ideal times. And so it causes you to be tired because you're not getting a full night's rest. You're waking up maybe 3, sometimes 4 times in the middle of the night. And especially if you're breastfeeding or pumping and you have to do like a late night pump session, even though your child might not be up, you still have to like hook yourself up to the pump machine and like milk yourself like a cow. And then again, by the time you get back to sleep, your baby is now awake and does want to be fed. So there's a lot that kind of goes on during those first 4 months, like I said, that are going to cause you to not have a good amount of sleep. But you need to just try and get as much rest as you can. I do not agree with sleeping when the baby sleeps. If you can and if you want to, like, obviously yes, but sometimes it's really hard to sleep when the baby sleeps because you feel like there are so many other things that you need to get done, and this is like the only time that you have to do it during the day when the baby is sleeping. But I will say sometimes I did sleep when Ace slept, but most times I was just kind of like awake and trying to get my life together. The next challenge I have is balancing everything, honestly. Like, I was going to say balancing work, but balancing everything, like balancing the fact that you are now a new mom, trying to still work, trying to still take time for you, trying to still do things that are enjoyable for you. Like, it's really hard to balance it all, especially in those first few months, because your baby relies on you so much. Your body is still healing, and it's just a lot more difficult in those moments to try and juggle, work and household duties and taking care of yourself yourself and taking care of your man, you know? Like there's a lot that you're going to have to neglect for a little while. And like it's okay. It's okay if the house is not 100% clean. It's okay if you haven't been able to take a shower. It's okay if you haven't been able to like go on a date night with your partner, because the balance will come back. But in the beginning, it's just really, really hard to try and figure out like what's a good balance, because babies are so unpredictable. So even when you think you might be in some kind of routine, it changes sometimes overnight. Like they're really just so unexpected, and you can't ever plan fully for when they're going to do things. So trying to balance all these different aspects of your life are a little bit harder, unfortunately, in those first beginning months. But once they get older and they do start getting into a solid routine and do start understanding when it's time to sleep, when it's time to wake up, when it's time to eat, you know, like it will make your life easier. But it's just getting through those first few months and understanding that like everything is going to be all out of whack. It's not going to feel good. You're going to feel totally messed up in the head and like overstimulated and feel like your life is completely chaotic. But it is so normal. Like it is so normal to feel like that, especially in the beginning. The next challenge that I have is finding time for yourself, which I kind of just touched on. But this for me was honestly really challenging, especially because Ace was and still is so clingy to me. Like he is obsessed with his mom. And like at times I love it. I'm like, yes, come on, baby. Like come sit with mama. But other times I'm like, dude, can I poop without you trying to like sit on my lap? Can I go and take a shower? Can I actually get dressed and put my clothes on without you trying to come crawl up and hang on my leg, you know? And it's in those moments where it's just kind of frustrating, because you realize that like your life is never going to be the same again. Like there's always going to be someone or someone coming up, you know, trying to ask you questions and, you know, wanting you to feed them and wanting you to hold them and wanting you to play with them, right? And it's cute and it's nice, but at the same time, like you cannot forget to take care of yourself. And it's really, really easy to just, you know, let go of all of the things that you enjoy, to rush yourself. That was something that I really struggled with, was just kind of like rushing taking a shower, rushing getting ready, rushing doing my makeup, because I knew that like Ace was going to need me. And so it was just like I was depriving myself of my special time. And it was very rare when I had time to myself, when I had a quiet house, when I had no one needing something from me. Those times were very hard to come by. But if you are able to get those times, like really, really cherish them. And I know it can be difficult because like your mind is just focused elsewhere, or you might be worried about your baby. If you're gone, you might feel bad, right? But you have to understand that like you need that time. Like if you are just constantly being called upon, constantly having to take care of someone else, constantly having to make sure everyone else is okay, and you're neglecting yourself, like you are going to burn out so fast. There were so many times where I had to call my mom. This was when we lived like 30 minutes away from my mom. And I'll be like, Mom, can you please come over just so I can take a shower and take like an hour nap? You know, like I just need this time to reignite my energy so that I can then take care of Ace more efficiently. Because if you're burnt out while you're watching your baby, like that's just it. Like you're going to take everything out on them, unfortunately. And you don't want to get to that point, because the amount of guilt that you'll feel for, you know, screaming at them when they don't even know what they're doing wrong it's not a good feeling. Okay. Like I've been there. Like I've had moments where I was just like like just so overly stimulated and just needed time to myself, and Ace would be crying and I'll just be like, Ace, please stop. And I immediately would be like, oh my gosh, like he literally doesn't even know, like he's just a baby, it's fine. So in order to stop yourself from getting to those points, you have to take that time for yourself. It is so important to find those small pockets of time to do your skincare routine, to take a nice shower, to get yourself together for the day, to go out on a walk without the baby, right? Like people need to understand that moms deal with a lot mentally, physically, emotionally. Like it is exhausting. So that time to yourself is going to be so important in making sure that you're being there for your family in the way that you want to be. I guess following up with that, we can go into my next challenge, which is experiencing mom guilt. again, like if you are taking time for yourself, you're thinking about your baby and like how you're not doing enough for them, or how you're not there with them, how you just left them, and you feel like you're being selfish. Maybe you feel like you're not doing enough things around the house because you're so tired all the time. But like now you feel this guilt because the dishes are piling up and the laundry's not done and there's crumbs all over the floor. Or maybe you have mom guilt because you feel like you're doing things wrong. You feel like you don't even know what you're doing. You're not even capable of being a mom. And you feel guilty because you're not living up to the standard of the type of mom that you thought you were going to be. All of these things can cause mom guilt. And it's a real thing. And I've experienced it a lot. I still experience it. Like, even though Ace is 14 months now, like, even when I go and just, tell Justin to watch him so I can go and do something, like, I feel so guilty because I'm like, I'm leaving him to go and do something else. And it's kind of like, it feels a little bit selfish. But also, again, like, finding that time for yourself is very important. But you have to understand that your babies are so resilient. Like, honestly, we care more than the babies do that we're gone. Like, they don't have the mental capacity to know like when you're gone. Like, obviously they know when you're gone in those first moments, but like they can't comprehend that like mom's not back yet. Like, as long as somebody is taking care of them, like, they are okay, and they'll cry for a little bit, but eventually they'll find someone to play with, or they'll find something to play with, or they'll fall asleep, or they'll watch TV. Like, they are going to be okay, and they're going to adjust. And we as moms especially need to be able to do the same, because they're all right, I promise you. Even though it's really, really hard to let go of the mom guilt, you have to work on letting it go, because the only person that it's hurting is you. The next challenge of motherhood is maintaining relationships. I'm not just talking about like your romantic relationship. I'm talking about like your friendships, and honestly your family relationships as well. Any kind of relationships, just trying to maintain those as you did the same way before you had a baby is really a challenge. The dynamic between you and your partner changes so much. It's a transition period for the both of you. So learning to like give each other grace during those moments, learning to have patience in those moments are what's going to help you. And understanding that even though it's really tense and crazy right now and a lot of things are changing, eventually the both of you will find your rhythm and things will be smooth sailing again. Y'all will be able to laugh again and spend more time together again and go on dates again and have sex again, right? Like, there's only like a very short period of time where I feel like your relationship kind of suffers the most. And then once you make it out of those dark moments, you come on the other side of it. And one, you're able to laugh about it. Like, do you remember like this? But then two, it makes you stronger because of it. And you guys see each other in a completely different light. And you have like a certain level of respect for each other, like a new level of respect for each other. Now, maintaining your friendships, especially with friends who maybe don't have kids, honestly is very hard because your time is now being all sucked away and you're not able to go to girls' night like how you used to, and y'all aren't able to hang out as much as you used to. Maybe you're not picking up their calls or responding to their text messages as quickly as you used to because you have so much going on. Like, that is really hard. But if your friends are good friends, then they're going to understand. They're going to want to help you during this transition period, and they're not going to fault you for not being the same friend that you were before, because my life just totally and completely changed, and people should understand that. So yeah, maintaining relationships is hard, but I think that if you set the precedent that like, look, this is what it could be like don't expect me to be the same type of person that I was before, because I'm a new being. Like, I birthed a human and I am no longer the same person that I was before. I have new responsibilities. I have new things that I have to take care of. And this is just what it is now. I think that if you're able to do that with your friends and your family, then they'll understand, obviously, as they should, because they should know that this is not easy. It's not easy to try and juggle everything all at one time. So maintaining relationships, a little bit hard in the beginning, but again, once you find your rhythm and you're able to find that time for yourself, get you a support system of people who are encouraging you and like wanting you to be successful in this new chapter of your life, is going to make that transition a lot easier. Breastfeeding. Oh my goodness. This was a challenge for your girl. I feel like it's a challenge for most women, honestly, especially if this is your first time breastfeeding. I feel like next time, if there is a next time, y'all, I will be more prepared in this area. But because this was my first child and because I had never breastfed before, this was such a hard journey. And I was an exclusive pumper, okay? I went into this wanting Ace to latch. I had some complications in the hospital that caused my milk supply to delay, and Ace wouldn't latch in the hospital. So when my milk finally came, I tried to get him to latch at home and he didn't. So I had to exclusively pump, which I was always going to pump, but I wanted to like have a mix of nursing and pumping. But because he didn't latch like at all, I just had to strictly pump in order to get him the breast milk, which in hindsight, I don't mind that I did that because other people were able to feed him. He was able to drink out of a bottle, like he wasn't just relying on me to feed him in a sense. Like obviously I had to produce the milk, but anybody could like hold him and feed him a bottle and he was fine. But pumping was y'all, pumping was probably the hardest part of my postpartum journey because it hurt so bad. And I found out that I had the wrong size flange, which is probably why it made my nipples hurt so bad. But even still, just the fact of having to pump 3 to 4 times a day, waking up in the middle of the night to pump, putting the milk in the bag, freezing them, like all of that, it's a lot to keep up with. So if you are a breastfeeding mama, like hats off to you because it's not easy, but it is worth it. And that's not to say that formula feeding babies are not well taken care of because Ace was only on breast milk for about 6 months. I pumped for about 4, had a freezer stash that lasted him until about 6 months, and we combo feeded. He was on formula, and after 6 months, he was strictly on formula. So trust me, I get it. I understand. And I am not the type of mom who is like, breastfed is best. Like, no, a fed baby is a good baby, and that is all that matters. I am just saying that breastfeeding for me was just a really, really hard journey. Once I got the hang of it, though, honestly, and I got the right size flange, it was okay. After that part, the hardest was dealing with the engorged boobs and just like having clogged ducts, which I got very frequently. So just like having to literally massage it out. Your boobs are like rock solid. it's it's honestly like so crazy to look back on and think about. I literally have pictures of when I just had like clogged ducts and you could literally see just like the clogs of milk, and it was absolutely insane. But yeah, I say all that to say breastfeeding was definitely a challenge for me. Would I do it again? 1,000% absolutely. I would breastfeed again. I would love to have, if I do have another baby, to have my baby latch. Ace actually did latch once. I have a video of it. I had always offered him my breast. It never really went well because he just didn't understand. But there was this one time where he latched on, and it was literally the most beautiful moment that I ever experienced in my entire life. And I literally started just crying. I have the video on my phone. Obviously, I'm not going to show y'all, but I just remember crying and just being like, oh my gosh, like this is so beautiful. Like to know that my body can do this and to just feel so close and connected to your child. Like there honestly is no greater feeling. So I would love to have, if I do have another baby, to have my next baby latch and maybe not be strictly boob, but I would probably like, pump still a little bit, but I would definitely probably be mostly like, come on, little baby. Okay, anyways, moving on. The next challenge that I faced was being the primary parent. And maybe you're the primary parent, maybe your partner is the primary parent, but if you are the primary parent, then like it is very hard being the person that is taking care of the baby all the time. Justin, would go off to work and I would be at home with Ace. And even though I loved being a stay-at-home mom and being with Ace every single day, it took a lot out of me being the primary parent. And I think when you are the primary parent, there's a little bit of resentment that you hold against your partner, and you don't even try to, but I think it just subconsciously happens because you're kind of keeping score of everything that you're doing and what they're doing. And you realize that like your score is way higher than this other person's score, and they get to leave and they get to have a break and they don't have to wake up in the middle of the night to pump, and they're, you know, it's hard not to be resentful even just a little bit towards your partner when you are the primary parent, no matter how much you try and not be. I think it just naturally harbors itself in that way, like in our minds, that like, you're not doing as much as me, you know? And granted, they're not, but there's always going to be one parent that is doing more than the other. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that even if you have set schedules, even if you have like split it up, like I don't know what y'all do, I still feel like there is going to be one parent that is more relied on by the child than the other, and 9 times out of 10 it's probably always the mom. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing, because again, like, our babies need us, like they still think that they are a part of our bodies, and it's beautiful, but it can also be a little bit annoying when you are the one that's, you know, doing what you feel like is everything. So for me, being the primary parent is just really, really hard sometimes. And even though I love it and I love being the one that like Ace clings to and wants for comfort, sometimes I do just want to like get away, and I want to be able to hand him off to his dad without him screaming bloody murder behind me, you know? So it's just those little things like that. But in the beginning, it was very hard because, especially as a breastfeeding mom, I felt like I was doing a lot more than what Justin had to do. And you know, being a mom, like, you're always going to be doing more than the man. Like, your body is recovering. If you're breastfeeding, like, you're producing the milk, you're rocking them to sleep, probably you're changing most of the diapers, you know, like, I just feel like naturally it does fall on the mom. And if you have a good partner and they can sense that, you know, obviously they step in to help. Like, I'm not saying Justin does not help me. He is a great parent, and we're good partners together. But I'm just saying, like, Ace is upset. Ace is in a phase where he just wants me a lot of the times. So it's just something that I don't think he will ever understand, like being the primary parent. Like, even when we go out to dinner or something and he's sitting in the high chair, guess who he's sitting next to? He's sitting next to me. Guess who's feeding him? I'm probably feeding him majority of the time. And that's not to say that Justin doesn't want to do it. It's just Ace wants me to do it, you know? So it's not that it happens because the other partner doesn't want to try or doesn't want to do more. A lot of times it's because the child just clings to one parent over the other, and you just have to roll with the punches of like whatever that is in the moment. So it is hard being the primary parent, but it's just one of those things that like you have to accept. And I think the sooner you accept if you are the primary parent, or even if you aren't the primary parent, then like it'll be easier to navigate. Because I do think sometimes it bothers Justin that like Ace wants me more than he wants him, and that's not saying that, you know, Ace thinks he's a bad dad. Again, I just think that babies pick and choose who they want in the moment, and sometimes that is Justin, but most of the times it is me. So I think it can be hard on both sides, being the primary parent and then being the one that isn't the primary parent but you like want to do more. It's a double-edged sword, honestly, but it's gonna happen. The next challenge I faced was time management. I feel like I touched on this a little bit earlier, but yeah, trying to manage your time and trying to make the most out of the time that you do have is really hard as a mom, because you're kind of faced with all of these different choices. Like during nap time, it's like I can either nap with him, I can go clean the house, I can try and go take a shower, I can try and make myself something to eat, you know, like there are so many choices that we have, and try and pick the one that is most beneficial to us in that moment. And it's really, really hard. Like, I don't know if anybody even talks about this, but being faced with the choice of like what to do when your child is taking their nap, I don't know why it's the hardest thing in the world, because it's like, even though you might want to go and do something productive, you might also just want to sit and scroll on your phone and like take a mental and physical break. So that was always really hard for me, was to just kind of pick okay, what am I actually going to do with this time? Am I going to do nothing, or am I going to like do something productive? And then on the other side of it, it's almost like you're racing against an invisible clock because you don't know how long your baby is going to nap. Sometimes Ace will take a nap that's 30 minutes. Sometimes Ace will take a nap that is 2 hours. And so it's like you're trying to decide what to do, but also trying to decide how much time that you have to do it, but you really don't even know. So you're kind of just paralyzed by like by all the choices and all of the thoughts that are running in your mind of like what you should be doing in this moment. And then it just becomes overwhelming. There were so many times where I thought that Ace was going to take a short nap, and I would be like, okay, well, because I think he's only going to sleep for this amount of time, I'm just going to sit on the couch and like relax so that whatever task I decide to do doesn't get interrupted. And then he would sleep for like 2 hours, and I look up from my phone and he's still sleeping. I'm like, well, then I could have done that. And then by the time you start trying to do it, they wake up. So it's just, it's so frustrating as a new mom trying to manage your time and trying to decide what to do with that time. And again, racing against this invisible clock that only moms like understand is there. Okay, the last challenge that I have on my list, and then we're going to get into some advice that I have because I've already been talking for a few minutes. The last challenge of motherhood that I have is embracing your new body and grieving your old self, which I feel like I've talked about this a lot, especially on my podcast, because you guys know I have not been secretive about the fact that I struggle with my postpartum body, that I struggle with thinking about, you know, what my life could have been without having Ace, and thinking about the woman that I was before I had Ace. And I just think it's natural, okay? Like everything has changed and shifted. Your body was not yours for 9 months. And now that the baby is out, it still doesn't feel like yours because it's not the body that you remember. And so you really have to fight to embrace the changes that have been made and learn how to embrace them and learn how to love them. And this was just really hard for me because, you know, we're used to our bodies looking and being and feeling a certain way. And when that changes, it's kind of just like, who am I? And like, what am I supposed to do with this? My boobs were so big. My stomach was like just very, I don't even know how to describe it. Like the skin was just stretchy. Like I really don't know how to describe it. You have, you know, darker nipples. At least I did. You have darker down there area. Everything in your hormones are like shifting and changing, so like your body is just not what it was, and it does take time for it to get back to the way that you remember. I feel like my body is just now starting to feel like normal, and I'm 14 months postpartum, and no, it's not the same body that I had before I had Ace, but it feels more like myself than I did when I was like very freshly postpartum, which obviously because you just had a baby, your body went through something traumatic and it has to have time to heal. But I think my biggest advice, and I wish that I could go, you know, back to my early postpartum days, was like, just give yourself grace. Like, you have to understand that you just pushed out a whole entire human being. You can't expect to just snap back like that. You can't expect to just feel normal again. And now, granted, some women do, and I love that for them, but a lot of women don't. And it takes them a long time to feel like themselves again and to embrace the changes that have happened. And I am one of those women. Like, I am still struggling with embracing my new body, but I feel like every day I'm getting better. And I'm just realizing and understanding that like I am no longer that young girl who I was before I had a child. I am now a woman, and I am now, you know, a mother, and my body exhibits that. My body is proof of that. So I think we just have to be a little bit more kinder with ourselves when we're postpartum and not rush to get back into, you know, a workout routine and trying to, I don't know, be the same person that we was before, because you're not the same person and you're never going to be that person again. And yeah, it's sad to think about. And that's what I mean by like grieving your old self. It's sad to think that I am never going to be that girl again. But the beautiful part is you get to grow into a woman, and like you get to decide who you want to be from this point forward. So those are all of the challenges that I personally experienced during my first year of motherhood. Honestly, still experiencing some of these, but it gets better, y'all. Like it totally gets better. You are not in the darkness for long. I promise. Like, it feels like you are, because when you're in it, it feels like there's no end in sight. But I promise you, it is a very short moment of time compared to the long life that you're going to live with your child. So anyways, I'm going to get into advice that I have for young and new moms. I have a list of 6, so hopefully I'll get through these pretty quickly because I know I've been talking for a little bit too long. All right, so the first piece of advice that I have for new moms or just young moms is to create a routine, okay? I know that there are people who say babies don't need a routine, babies don't need a schedule, you can't control when your baby does da 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 da. Like, okay, all they doing is talking to me because putting Ace in a routine was the best thing that I could have ever done. And I want to say it's not about the schedule. It's not about doing things at the exact same time every single day and making sure that they sleep for this long and they only eat at this time and they only do this at this time. It's not about the schedule. It is about creating the habit. So for me with Ace, like, we would get into a routine, but sometimes that routine would happen at 6:30. Sometimes that routine would happen at 8 o'clock. It's not so much about the schedule of the routine, more so than it is about the habits that it's building for your child. And creating a routine really, really helped us when it was time to move him to his crib, because he was sleeping with us in our bed until about, I would say, 5 to 6 months. 6 months was when we like officially kicked him out. Justin was like, he gotta go. And so having a solid routine, like nighttime routine for him, was super helpful, because he realized that like when we do these things, when we take a nice warm bath, when we turn off the lights, when we get a warm bottle, when we turn on the sound machine, it's time to go to bed. And so he is now able to associate those things with sleep. Like, this is just the best piece of advice that I could give you. Like, make the routine, okay? Your babies will adjust. Our babies are so resilient, and they are so quick to learn things. And like I said earlier, it's us who have the problem. It's us who don't like change. It's us who wants to like continue to coddle them and like, not make things too difficult for them. But I promise you, they will be okay. I was so scared to put Ace in his crib. And I remember reading an article online, and it was just like, close the door and don't go back into their room until 6 a.m. And I'm like, how can I just close the door and leave my child in there while they're crying? Like, that was probably the hardest part for me with his like moving him from the bed to the crib, and like creating this routine of like sleeping in his crib, was like actually keeping him in his crib. But when I tell you, after 3 days, y'all, the first night the crying was like 15 minutes, okay? The second night, the crying was like 10 minutes. The third night, the crying was like 5 minutes. And then by the fourth night, he just goes to sleep. Like, he just already knows. He's like, okay, this is the way it is now. Like, she's obviously not going to come and get me, so I'm not going to waste my crying breath. I'm going to just go my little self to sleep. And he would. And we still do that routine now. Like, even if he wakes up in the middle of the night crying, like, I'm not going up there to get him. Okay? And I know some people, listen, I know some moms don't agree with that at all. I think that if your baby is at least 6 months, you can handle it. Like, you can do it. If your baby is under 6 months, like, I understand, go get your baby. I went and got mine. Okay, best believe I did. But you have to be able to train them up in the way that you like want them to go. And it's going to be so helpful for you in the long run if you allow them to develop these skills earlier on. Because let me just tell y'all some tea. My sister got 2 kids, and one of my nieces is 2 years old, and she's still getting up in the middle of the night and sleeping in bed with mama and daddy. And has been trying to get my niece to sleep in her crib like since forever. And I just keep telling her, you just gotta keep her in. Like, she just gotta figure it out. But I understand, like, it gets harder when they get older. So the sooner that you create a routine for your child, the better it's going to be in the long run, and the more skills that they're going to have to be able to like self-soothe, to put themselves to sleep, to stop themselves from crying, So it's gonna be hard in the beginning, but once you find a good solid routine that works for you and your family, I say roll with it. Okay, the next advice that I have is take care of yourself as much as you can. Again, I feel like I've hit on this a lot this episode, but you have to take time for you, okay? You have to, because if you don't, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to become very overwhelmed. You're going to become very overstimulated, and you're going to be very emotional, very frustrated, and want to take out that frustration and anger on your child or on your partner or on anyone who is trying to help you. So you really need to make sure that you are taking time for yourself to recharge, to just be away from the baby, to feel like you again. That time is so, so important. And it is literally the only thing that like got me through. Like if I was not able to go and take a nice long bath, if I was not able to actually take my time with my makeup or wash my hair or go outside and just like go shopping without having a baby with me, I would have gone crazy. If I did not have help, if I didn't hire a nanny, if I didn't have my mama coming to help me, like I would have not survived, like seriously. So taking time for yourself is a good thing. You're gonna feel guilt at the beginning. You might feel a little bit selfish, but I promise you, your baby is going to be okay. Like I said, they are resilient and they are going to be so excited to see you when you get back home. And like, that's the most fun part. So you don't have to worry about them. You need to worry about you because as long as you worry about you, they will be all right. The next advice that I have is to vocalize what you need. I feel like I had a lot of trouble with this because I didn't want to feel like I was putting a burden on people, especially because for me personally, I felt like, well, this is my child, like this is my responsibility and I can't ask anybody to do anything for me. But that is so not true. If you need a moment to yourself, tell someone. If you need somebody to watch your child for you, tell someone. If you are overwhelmed and like don't want to do bath time tonight, tell someone. Like vocalize what you need in that moment, because if you just keep it in, again, you're going to harbor this resentment that you don't want to build up. Even though you might think that it's not building up, it is building up. And the more that you continue to be quiet about the things that you need, the sooner it's going to erupt into something that you don't want to happen. So don't be scared to communicate with your partner, to vocalize what you need in that moment, to just say like whatever it is that's going to make you get back to your happy, loving self. Because the longer you neglect that, the longer that you are quiet about the things that you need, it's just not going to be good. You're like a volcano waiting to erupt. Next piece of advice that I have is to build a support system. This could be your family. This could be your partner. This could be a nanny. This could be a daycare. This could be anything that you can think of. You just need to have a group of people that you can always rely on, because when you vocalize what you need somebody to actually respond, correct? So you need to make sure that you have a support system around you that is going to be there when you need them, to help you out when you need it, to really just give you that extra push that you need to make it through the day. Y'all know the saying, it takes a village to raise a baby, and it is so true. Like, it is not something that you can do by yourself. You need your village, you need your tribe, you need your support system there to help you through the way, so that again, you're not becoming overwhelmed with all of the tasks and responsibilities that you need to do in order to take care of your child. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. There is nothing wrong with letting people come over and allowing them to cook for you, to clean for you, to take the baby from you. You know, like, it is such a big help. And the more people that you have who want to see you be successful in this phase of your life, the better. It's not a burden to them. They want to help you. They want you to be okay. They want the baby to be okay. They want to make sure that you're well rested, that the baby is well taken care of. Like, it's not a burden for them. You're not bothering them. They want to do it. So just make sure that you have your group of people that you know you can rely on at any time of the day. And just ask for help. Okay, 2 more pieces of advice, and then I'm gonna get out of you guys' hair. My next piece of advice is to trust your instincts, okay? You know your baby better than anyone, better than any doctor, better than any family member. You know what your baby needs, and your instincts will tell you that. Society might try and tell you one thing. Your grandparent might try and tell you one thing. Some random person on Instagram might try and tell you one thing, but you know what's best for your child, and you need to stand strong in that, no matter what anybody else has to say about it. You holding that baby too much. They don't need that pacifier. You need to just lay them in their crib. They don't need to be rocked. Why haven't you changed this baby's diaper yet? Why the baby don't got no socks on? on. Oh my goodness. I could go on and on and on and on of the things that people say to moms. And it's just like, just keep your mouth shut. Just stop talking to me because you don't know my child. You don't know us. If you know your baby only goes to sleep with their pacifier, keep giving them their pacifier. If you know your baby gets hot easily and they don't need to have socks on, keep them socks off your baby's feet. If you want to hold them and carry them everywhere because you know that they will cry nonstop if you put them down, keep holding and taking care of your baby, because people are going to have something to say about every single thing that you do as a mom. And it is exhausting because everybody feels like their opinion, their thought process is the correct way to do something. And they don't know you and they don't know your child. Even if it is your mom, even if it is your grandmother, even if it is your partner, like honestly, no one knows their child better than a mom does. And your maternal instincts are going to give you that extra push that you need in order to be able to take care of them. And you just have to block out all of the other noise because nobody else matters. Like nobody else matters as much as your child matters. And as long as they are being taken care of to the best of your ability and to the best of your knowledge, then that's all that you can do. So trust your instincts, mama, because you know what's best for your child. And then the last piece of advice that I have for young and new moms is to find joy in the journey. I know I just spent a whole 30-40 minutes talking about the challenges of motherhood, okay? But there is still beauty and joy in this journey that is honestly like no other thing that I've ever experienced. The hard nights are worth it. Like it doesn't last always. And even when you are in those dark moments, like you have to be willing to find joy in the midst of the darkness to keep you motivated to just push through the day, through the weeks, through the months. Being a mother is one of the most beautiful things on the planet. Being able to give life, to sustain life. So even though it does get hard at times, it does get overwhelming, it does get frustrating, it does feel like it's never going to get easier. It does. I promise you, it does. But even in the moments when it doesn't, like, all you have to do is look at your baby's face and just remember why all of it is worth it in the first place. Whenever I was literally crying when I would pump milk for my child, I would just look at him and be like, this is for you. Like, I am doing this for you. I am making the sacrifice for you because I know that I'm the only one that can do it. Find joy in those hard moments. Find joy in the moments where your baby is crying nonstop. Be grateful that they have a good set of lungs and that they're breathing. Find joy when your baby is waking up in the middle of the night. Be grateful that they want you for comfort. They want to feel your warmth and to smell you. Find joy in the moments when your house is a mess and you don't have time to clean it up. You get to spend time with your baby and play with them and develop this nice, beautiful bond. There are so many moments during motherhood that are going to make you feel like it's not worth it. It's too much. I'll never be able to do this again. But when you find joy in those moments and you really shift your mindset into remembering children are a blessing from God. Remembering that one day you're going to look back on these moments and miss them. Miss how small and tiny your baby was. Miss waking up in the middle of the night. Miss having them fall asleep on your chest, right? You're living in the best moments and you don't even know it. So remember when it gets hard to just find joy in those moments and to really embrace the entire journey of what motherhood is. Because yes, it's hard, but it's also beautiful. Yes, it's exhausting, but it's also the most rewarding thing in the world. And you're gonna make it. You're going to survive the same way that I did, okay? I didn't think I would survive my first year of motherhood, yet here I am 14 months in and we're only getting better. And honestly, am thinking about having more kids. Like when I first had Ace, I was like, no, this is it, like one and done. But now it's just like, it's a thought. It is a thought. Now I told Justin, don't ask me about no more kids until I got a ring on my finger. But I'm not against it as much as I was. And I am not as afraid of motherhood this time around as I was the first time. You know, I don't think that I was ready to be a mother, but God definitely prepared me to be a mom, and I ended up embracing it. And that's all that you can do with this motherhood journey is just embrace all the craziness of it, the chaoticness of it, the uncertainty of it, because at the end of the day, it's a beautiful journey. and it's fulfilling in every way possible. So anyways, I have talked enough. I did not think that this episode was going to be this long, but here we are. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my story of motherhood, the challenges that I faced, the advice that I had for you. Hope that it was helpful. And yeah, happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers, the future mothers, the old moms, the new moms. I am so proud of you for making it this far in your motherhood journey. You are killing it, and we got this, okay? We're moms. We can do it all. If you guys enjoy this episode, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and leave me a comment or a review. I love reading them. I hope that you guys have a great Monday, a great week, and I'll talk to you in my next episode. Bye.